Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If we can reach the president's goal, which I believe we will, of 70% of the adult population receiving at least one dose by the 4th of July, and we continue to vaccinate people into the summer, and we get even higher than 70% vaccinated, I think it would be unlikely that we would see a surge in the fall.
Nice. I don't think we're going to see a surge like we saw before. I think through infections and vaccinations that the worst is definitely behind us. Now, the thing that people are going to have to navigate is getting back the power that a lot of people either gave to and or saw taken away by the local counties, municipalities, cities, and states. And on the other side of things, getting comfortable. There's a psychological aspect that we have talked about once they shut down. I said there is going to be a majority of people that are going to be fine getting back out there. And we didn't realize how long this was going to take. But there's going to be a group of people that are going to worry. And they're going to worry about a lot of things. They may not worry about the virus, but they're worried about the reaction of the government when it comes to the virus. They worry about being closed down again. They worry about, am I going to see my office shut down again and me have to go home? Am I going to see my hours reduced? So there's a lot that goes into this. I think, though, the worst that we have seen is behind us. And now we're living above it. So we had to learn to live with it, through it, around it, and now above it. And that's what's going to happen from here on out.
It's within our power. We can stop it and prevent it merely by vaccination. And I guess that's the thing that's so frustrating about when people don't want to get vaccinated. We all want to be back to normal. We all want to be free of constraints. There's an easy pathway to that, and that is just get vaccinated.
There you go. And it's funny because I talk to people who they're just, it doesn't really matter. They're just not going to do it. And I'm like, I got no problem with it, but I'm always curious as to why. And some of the stuff is, well, I heard you can go, in the Latino community. We did a big thing about this yesterday here locally in why Arizona got off to a great start and then has really struggled. And one of the interesting things is, same thing they see in Los Angeles and a couple other places they've gone deeper in the Latino community, especially among men. I heard you can, become impotent. I heard you can become sterile. It is all of these things. And you said, again, it's a curiosity thing to me of why you wouldn't do something. What's the thought process? What are you afraid of? And it's a very interesting thing. I've always been that way. And the curiosity, I'm not in for, my life has never been about affirmation. And I think that's kind of the way I was raised. My mom raised me was, the attaboys don't count for nothing. The pat on the backs mean very little. What matters is, find out what you're doing wrong so you can fix it, which is not always the best. But I've always been curious. And I've talked to a lot of people. And I've talked to people who are Christians, who say they're Christians, followers of Christ. And they're not getting vaccinated. They don't even care to. And I ask them why. And they're, I just don't believe it. I think it's fake. And you start listening to it and you're just like, well, I not bothered. Again, I don't care whether you do or don't. That's a you thing. Right? That should be a personal choice whether you do or don't. But it is a very interesting thing to see the way that people differ from being impotent or sterile to, going the other direction and thinking, well, it's the mark of the beast. And you just sit back and you're like, well, you're doing you and that's fine. And I don't wish them any harm either, because I think there's a lot of people out there when it comes to this virus and has, because of the political nature of the way that this thing played itself out, is you don't want to get vaccinated. So, when you get sick and die, the last laugh's on you. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Now, the question is with all these things, how long do you need them? Do we need a booster?
The Moderna and Pfizer CEOs have said that we're going to get potentially a booster as early as September, and they didn't provide any data. And I myself and colleagues in public health looked at that and said, look, why are they putting that out there? Because this is just fodder for the anti-vaxxers, for the few people out there that are putting bad misinformation out in the ether. There is no evidence right now at 6 months that you might need a booster at a year, or frankly at a year and a half after you get the shot.
Yeah. Well, why? Because, that was the big thing. I said when we first had these things roll out, because we didn't know how long they were going to last. We had no idea. Are they going to last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Are they going to last a year? Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. And the same thing when it comes to people who've been infected. Are they going to, last a year? Are your antibodies good for this for a year? Or is it like MERS and SARS where people go and look and, 12, 13, 14, 18 years later, they still have the antibodies. Nobody really knows.
We know that at 6 months after you get the vaccine, in the case of Pfizer, that your antibody levels are through the roof and that you're protected against all the variants that exist to this day. So to say that at 9 months or at 12 months, as the Pfizer and the Moderna CEOs put out today, that you might need a booster is devoid of evidence. So I would encourage them, publish the evidence. If that is indeed the case, if the evidence is suggesting that that is the case, provide it so that our government can actually plan ahead.
Yeah. And we need that because I think when this thing, if we do need a booster, if we do need to get another shot, though every time that we have to go get another shot, every time America has to go out and get another something or other, you'll watch what happens. It'll fall off a little bit more and a little bit more. And a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more because we're busy or we're this or it does. I know, you know what? I got just kind of like the flu shot. I got it last year, but I don't think I need it this year because it's not the epidemic that it once was. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Hope you are doing well. Going to tell you guys something. We're going to talk a bit about this today. I find it to be very, very interesting. What took place with the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation? Just let me tell you something. This is the British broadcaster. This is the British. This is like PBS, but it's also MSNBC. It's also NBC, ABC, and CBS kind of things. This is not cable. This is their big network. This is the one. This is also one of the most credible organizations above board in the world when it comes to media. The report has come out about Princess Di, and I will tell you this. It is and arguably one of their great reporters in what took place during an interview that I was in England at the time. It was on Panorama. I think 40% watched it live. So 40% of the country watched it live. Those are Super Bowl-esque numbers. And we're going to touch on what happened, how did it get there, because it started the big chaos and craziness and eventually led to the divorce. And I tell you what, the black eye today on the BBC and the reputation of one person is absolutely in tatters. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Hope all is well with you. Got a lot of stuff to get to today. Obviously, there is a ceasefire, kinda.
This was the first major foreign policy test for this president. He wanted to avoid a messy, prolonged crisis, so we saw him initially rely heavily on those furious behind-the-scenes diplomatic talks, what Biden described as an hour-by-hour approach.
Yeah, and Egypt got involved, and already they're clashing. This ceasefire is going to be very tenuous at best. And partly because you're going to the Palestinians and you're trying to negotiate a ceasefire when their freedom fighters / terrorists, Hamas, is doing their own thing. So you're essentially negotiating. Hey, I'm negotiating for my people, but I can't. Those people are doing stuff. And even though they work within the organization, there's still people out there. It's the same problem back in the 60s and 70s and 80s with the IRA. You had other factions that wanted to do other things, and the IRA was going out, and the Irish Republican Army, and they were doing things. And when they were trying to calm things down, there were others who don't want that, who want none of those things. I have news for you. Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution. They want their state and the Jews to be gone. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays itself out, because there's no doubt the world's looking. And he continues with his quiet diplomacy.
I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet and relentless diplomacy toward that end.
Very quiet. So we'll see what happens. I know he's pulling some strings, he says, behind the doors, but this is very interesting. And it is his first real test, because he's trying to balance the relationship that we have with Israel, and at the same time, within his own party, a rise of people who support the Palestinians far more than they support the Israelis, and see this as a situation where they feel like the Israelis are essentially becoming South Africa with apartheid, and it's very. He's got two battlefronts here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Omaha Steaks, baby. Omaha Steaks. So I'm getting a new box. Should get here today. I went through my first box, and I want you guys to understand this. So with the Let's Go Grill package, which is delicious, I got 4 fillets. So that's pretty good. 4 chicken breasts. 4 amazing pork chops. Delicious. 4 big things of kielbasa. I got the potatoes, the amazing and delicious caramel apple tartlets. I got all of those things. Plus, I got 12 burgers. That's a $44 value. They threw that in free, and they're going to do it for you. I went through that in like 10 days, 11 days, and I was gone a few of those days. So I got a new package coming. Father's Day's here. Don't let it go. Get your dad something that not only he's going to love, but you're going to love, because you know he's going to barbecue it for you. Take advantage of this. Those 12 burgers are incredible. They're throwing those in. It's a $44, absolutely free. These Omaha Steak burgers are delicious, and they're going to give you $20 off your first order. Get over there, omahasteaks.com. The keyword is Chad right in the search bar there. You just type it in, Chad up iPop. omahasteaks.com, keyword Chad, omahasteaks.com. Keyword Chad. Let's Go Grill package. They're throwing all that in, plus those 12 extra burgers, $44 value free, and $20 off your first order. omahasteaks.com. Keyword Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
A number of big retailers have hiked wages recently, from Amazon to Walmart to Starbucks. And while there are 8.1 million job openings right now in America, the highest number since the record keepers started tracking this, there are questions about why some of those jobs haven't been filled. One area economists have looked at is the expanded unemployment benefits.
Yeah, Rebecca Jarvis there talking about the data that's coming out jobs-wise. Why aren't some people going back to work? What is the reason for that? Part of it is the unemployment. You can't pretend that that's... I love how, in particular, the left goes, oh, it's this, that's a lie. It's not a lie. It's real. It may not be as big as the right makes it out to be, but it's definitely surely hell of bigger than you think it is. Because you think everybody's a victim.
With a number of schools still not in person, that keeps some people from being able to do a job in person. And there are different pockets of jobs availability in the country. Some states have a lot of jobs, others not so many.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But watching some of these people talk about, people on the left, look, the right has its issues. Let's be 100% clear. I think both sides have their issues, and they use people. They're always trying to make victims or portray somebody as being victimized and then saying how they can do this or they can do it. It's nuts. But I sit here and I think to myself, you're over there, much like you do in the left, with what's going down at the border. And you're ignoring it. It's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Same thing. You can't tell me if you're giving somebody $600-700 a week, so you're giving them $300, and depending on the state. So here, I think in Arizona, it's like $300 is the top. So they were getting $600. Some states, it's $500-600. So they're getting almost $1,000 a week. You're telling me that has no effect on them going back to work? Of course it would. Even if they're making a little bit less, but they save in childcare because their kids aren't in school. Duh. It's not that hard to see. People don't get that, though, right? Like it's no, you're wrong. It's just because they need to pay better wages and to do this, that, and the other. It is frustrating when everybody's got an angle at something and they don't want to be honest. Jobs are available, but one of the big things is take away all of the $300 here, or the whatever your state pays you. How about this? Where's the pride for people that we used to have when we wanted to actually work? I will say something that's going to piss a lot of people off, but based on everything I find out about my show, that's basically all I do anyway. I look at people who are willing to take a treacherous journey through unforgiving, hostile environments that include the chances of potentially being snatched up and sold into sex trafficking, or forced to be drug mules, or die in the desert, to come here for opportunities better than I do a lot of people want to sit on their ass and don't want to get a job. Maybe we should trade. Maybe we should call and say, can we make a trade? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. I'll tell you this. Guess what? Honduras doesn't want you either. Guatemala doesn't want you sitting around doing nothing. Oh, geez, Chad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. We're going to talk a little Princess Di in the BBC. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Right now, they're just putting it out there into the ether, and right now the evidence that exists suggests we may not need a booster. So we need hard evidence before we start to speculate.
Yeah, we may not need a booster. Apparently, 6, 7, 8 months after the 2-shot so far from Moderna and Pfizer, you've got plenty of antibodies. And that's good news. That's good news. Even though they came out yesterday and said, we'll have a booster ready by October, September. May not need one. May not need one. It's very interesting. If you guys haven't seen this story, little girl, she was 11. She thwarted her kidnapping. And she did it all because of a TV show. And it's a crazy, crazy, crazy story. But I'll tell you what, kids pick up a lot of things, and not all of them are bad.
But it wasn't just the surveillance video of the attack at a school bus stop that led to the suspect. 11-year-old Alyssa Bonal, who fought off her knife-wielding abductor, had the presence of mind to mark her attacker. She was playing with blue slime when he grabbed her, and she made sure to wipe some of it on him. That trick gave investigators just the evidence they needed.
Yeah. So it's a trip to see at the bus stop where they're fighting. And, you know, for whatever, I mean, you just see he's got a knife. He comes over and then he's trying to stab her and he grabs her and then she's fighting back because that's what you do. And he, like, as they're running, they're on grass. He tumbles and falls and then boom, away he goes. But she made sure to essentially get blue slime on him. And if you ever watch, when I used to watch Live PD, people used to ask the question, like, officers, when you're walking up to a car, why do you put your hand on the back of the car? Because they were all doing it. They all swipe it. And they said, well, that's because if something happens, my fingerprints are at this stop. My fingerprints are now on this car. And you're like, oh, well, that's interesting.
The suspect, when we caught him, had blue slime all over his own arms.
She got the idea from her favorite TV show.
Me and my mom watched Law and Order Tribunal and really see what would happen, kidnap, what to do.
Today, actress Mariska Hargitay, who plays New York detective Olivia Benson, posted, I think the SVU squad might have to add slime to their crime-fighting gear. From the show that rips storylines from the headlines, this time one with a very happy ending.
Yeah, it's very cool. They got him. And again, it goes back to, it's just insane. People are insane. We were talking about the other day, that 18-year-old kid who goes into a house in Houston and takes a little boy and he stabs him and kills him and leaves him in the street at like 4 a.m. And you think to yourself, what the hell is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? That's why you hear when, like the police, the police get damned in so many ways. You rarely hear anything good about cops. When you do, it's a small little thing that's in passing. If it's something that's bad, it'll be splashed everywhere. The data suggests that the bad happens so very rarely, kind of like a lightning strike to a human being or a shark attack, but it becomes huge, huge news. Like this. The deputy, John Holt's his name. Car flips over. He's there.
Corner of Gloucester, it's flipped upside down. Is he under it? Gloucester, it's entrapment.
She can't breathe. She can't breathe. Please.
Gloucester, she's trapped under the vehicle. I can't get it off.
Mommy.
So, car flips. Trapped under a vehicle. You hear them freaking out. He's like, I can't get it off. Or can he?
Mommy.
Gloucester, her head's pinned.
Calm down. Mommy.
Come here, buddy. Okay.
I'm trying to get out.
Can you slide any, ma'am? Is your head clear?
But you know what he managed to do? He picked the car up. He lifted it up enough to get her out. It's crazy. One of those things where you sit there and you say to yourself, it's a good story. This happened on May 7th. Nobody hears about it. If he would have done something social justice-wise that pissed people off, of course we'd have heard about it. But we don't give attaboys. Every once in a great while, a story will come like this, and it's good to talk about. It is. And I don't think, and it has nothing to do with cops. I just think in general, we have stopped looking for good stories. Because if it bleeds, it leads. You know, when I started doing the show, the thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to be, I'll say it, hate radio. I didn't want to be damning people. I wanted to have fun. And yeah, we're going to talk about controversial issues and we're going to be honest about it, but we're not going to be hateful about it. And it's very, I wanted to do stuff different, and we have been. And stuff like this where, you know, first of all, just the thought process. You always hear stories about this every once in a while, right? Where somebody does something almost extra human. But in a day and age where everybody thinks all cops are bad cops, they're not. We're dealing with it here. Here's a crazy story. Like, here's a perfect story of insanity that goes along with a lot of this social justice wackiness. Phoenix is trying to build up a portion of the police force as they try to modernize it, where they have people who will respond with the police on the mental health side of things. They're doing that in conjunction with the fire department, right? Because that's kind of a natural thing. the people who, quote unquote, want to defund the police, the activists, instead of saying that's a great idea, you know what they said? Now that we know that the fire department's going to be involved with the police, we can no longer trust the fire department. Somebody tweeted at me a couple weeks ago, you never hear, F you to the fire department. I'm thinking you're going to start hearing it now. If that's the way you feel, now that they are working with the police, we can no longer trust them. Good times. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. To say that this, speaking of distrust, was a big slap in the face would be an absolute lie. So Princess Diana, she passed away. We know how it happened. Dodi Fayed, Spencer Reese-Jones, that night in the tunnel, paparazzi and people chasing them. But all of it started off with a interview. And let me tell you something. The interview was huge. I was in England at the time. It was on a Panorama, which is this huge show. Like 40% of the country watched this thing live. Come to find out that it was essentially to get to this thing, to force her to come out, to force her to talk about this. It was all a lie.
Former Judge Lord Dyson leading the investigation, finding Bashir arranged an initial meeting with Diana by showing fake bank statements to her brother, Earl Spencer, suggesting that 2 royal employees were being paid to gather intel on the princess. The 120-page report stating, by gaining access to Princess Diana in this way, Mr. Bashir was able to persuade her to agree to give the interview.
That's not persuading her. That's terrifying her into an interview. You're not persuading anybody. You're essentially saying, I've got stuff on you. And just like with movie stars, TV stars, the royals have the same issues. You let people into your home and into your lives. In doing things, they're going to see things that they would rather the public not see. So what he did was essentially say 2 of your close confidants who work within your royal sphere, who work with you on a daily basis, are essentially spilling the beans. We've got all these things, and they're ready to come clean. So why don't you beat them to it?
The internal investigation finding Bashir forged bank statements alleging that 2 royal employees were being paid to spy on the princess, showing them to Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, and convincing him to gain access to his sister. Now, Spencer providing a dossier of evidence, including handwritten notes, and her brother claiming that Bashir was preying on her paranoia, that she was a victim of spying and that her phones were bugged.
Yeah. BBC's huge. This is like one of those reputable places. You know, we hear about like it's fake news. It's like, I mean, you watch MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all of them. They all have a slant. They're all talking to a certain group of people. The New York Times, we know where they're at. The LA Times, we know where they're at. You start going through, okay, you're over here, you're on the left, you're on the right, you're on the left. The BBC was one of those ones that always felt above reproach. It's like when I worked at Talk Radio UK in London. Everybody who worked there, outside of a few people, mostly people like me, who had come from the United States, or we had a couple Canadian talk show hosts. Everybody there had worked for the BBC. When you asked why, they said, first of all, the reputation is massive. Secondly, on your resume, even though they paid very little at the time, it gets you into a ton of doors. Martin Bashir was one of he's their Matt Lauer, right? He's their Matt Lauer. He's their Lester Holt. He is you start clicking off all of these things of who this guy is. And he wanted it so bad. He did. Prince William.
She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the tough questions.
Because it mattered. It mattered to them. They wanted this. I think their fear was that she was, and in the interview, by the way, if you've never seen the interview, it essentially started the entire downfall and divorce. He's talking about all kinds of things, and it was a crazy interview, kind of like one of those. Like I remember some interviews. I remember the Mike Tyson Robin Givens interview. If you guys have never seen that, this is one of those things. But today they are a hot mess, trying to figure out how they walk this back because the British people are not happy. She is still beloved over there, more so than anything else. When I was in Europe, I would say this, when I lived over there, Princess Di was above them all. The only person that came close to matching her was not the Queen, but it was the Queen's mom, Queen Mum. That was it. Princess Di had such a level of love and respect. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. I do. MyPillow. So MyPillow has great deals on everything. Right now, for under $30, you can get the MyPillow, the king of the pillows, the thing that started it all, for less than $30. $29. $5 more for a king-size pillow. It's amazing. If you're saying to yourself, what's one thing I can do that it improves my sleep? It's MyPillow. They got great deep discounts on everything, from the mattress toppers to the Giza Dream Sheets to the slippers and everything in between. Now's your time to take advantage of it. Use the promo code Benson when you go to mypillow.com. It's a radio listener special. You type onto there, type promo code Benson. Take advantage of all of these things and check out the mattress topper as well and the towels. All of them are great, deep discounts. All you have to do is use the code Benson. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. mypillow.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth!
Come on, man.
Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
Boop, 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 boop. So I find this yesterday. I was flipping through, and Ted Cruz had tweeted something about an Army recruitment video. And, of course, everybody attacked him, went after him and, how he backed down from Trump and stuff. But just because he did doesn't mean what he tweeted out was wrong. And I will tell you, I'm like, okay, what baloney is this? And I was shocked. It was back-to-back kind of 1 minute video. The first one is a Russian recruitment ad for their army.
Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов. Но на самом деле, главный враг – это задача выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он.
Then, and by the way, the video is like, come join the Russian army. You're going to be miserable. You're going to hate everything. We're going to treat you like absolute dirt. There is no safe spaces. There is no holding up a little card and saying, don't yell at me. There is none of those things. In fact, when you're sleeping, we might come beat you. Welcome to the Russian army. And if you're good enough, we'll treat you even worse and you can be in Spetsnaz. Then came the new recruiting video set in California.
It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms. I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class. And after meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength. I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my calling.
And everybody went after Ted Cruz. It's a fair question to ask. By the way, how bad has this been? The Army had to disable comments on the new recruiting commercials amid criticism that it's too woke. Yeah. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought armies were Army, Marines, you go there, you learn a lot of stuff. But the reality is it's also where you go to basically break a bunch of things and learn how to defend and fight. Now, there's a lot more to it. We're becoming more nuanced. It's a lot of the tech stuff and all that stuff. I totally get that. In saying that, though, if you were to look at these two, you'd be like, what? Crazy. It was. And he got hammered for it. While Chinese military becomes more masculine and assembles the world's largest navy, our military needs to become, as Joe Biden says, more feminine. What's feminine means anymore, since men and women no longer exist. So Tucker Carlson said, there's something to it. There is. Doesn't mean we don't fend things that she says. In saying that, if you look at one and you look at the other, you go, well, those are some badasses. Luckily, we have badass nerds who make big-ass bombs that equalize the playing field. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The Moderna and Pfizer CEOs have said that we're going to get potentially a booster as early as September, and they didn't provide any data. And I, myself and colleagues in public health looked at that and said, why are they putting that out there? Because this is just fodder for the anti-vaxxers, for the few people out there that are putting bad misinformation out in the ether. There is no evidence right now at 6 months that you might need a booster at a year, or frankly at a year and a half after you get the shot.
Great. We don't need a booster. Come on, Dr. Gupta. How can you say that? Does anybody else think that? Yeah. Others do. Dr. Jha.
I would be very surprised if we need booster shots by September. My mental model, based on all the data that I'm reading, is that at some point next year, many people will need a booster shot. But we're going to determine that by looking at breakthrough infections and what's happening with immunity.
Yeah, there you go. Because they don't know how long this thing's going to last. They don't know how good it is. They don't know the people that got it. Are they immune, for, if it's was it SARS and MERS? Like, people who got that, you go and you look and they talk about that, years and years and years and years on, they still have, when introduced to, so if they introduce SARS or MERS to them, that their antibodies quickly kick in. I don't know. Nobody does. But they're already talking about a booster. And my fear is, if we need a booster every 6 months, you watch what happens. We're going to go really good, and we're going to do okay, and then we're going to be America. We're like, I don't really care. I didn't get one last year. I'll be fine. Because that's what we do. We have a short attention span. We want stuff now, and we blow everything up to be the biggest thing in the world, and then once we walk through that doorway, we forgot what was in the other room that was so big and important. And that's us. To a T. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. All that being said, everything there going on, we got to look at the job situation. We touched on it a bit yesterday. Job numbers, pretty decent comparatively to what we've seen over the last 18 months. But the reality is, people are still trying to figure out what they're going to do with their jobs. They're going to get a job. They're going to take as much time as they possibly can while this unemployment's where it's at. What happens when you're in those states, the Republican-held states, by the way, who decided, you know what, we don't want the federal money. We need people to get back to work. And if we continue to do this, they're going to take advantage of this for as long as they can. And you're already talking about another stimulus and extending this. You're insane.
A number of big retailers have hiked wages recently, from Amazon to Walmart to Starbucks. And while there are 8.1 million job openings right now in America, the highest number since the record keepers started tracking this, there are questions about why some of those jobs haven't been filled. One area economists have looked at is the expanded unemployment benefits.
Yeah. You think? Now the left will say, nope. And the right will say, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's probably a little bit of both. Are there people who are making comparable, if not better money? 110%. You know it's absolutely true. Are there people that maybe aren't making as much, but because they're saving on not having to go into the office, they're saving on childcare, that it works out to be a plus for them? Yes. Are there some people out there that are afraid? That number's dwindling. And if you say you're afraid to go to the office because we're still in the midst of a pandemic, which we should change to endemic and move on and take that stigma off of it. If you still think that way, chances are you've probably got a vaccine. And if you feel that you can't go to the office based on the fact that you also have a vaccine, then you've got a problem, and that can't be fixed on anything, and you're going to have to figure out how to find a new job in life. It's not the government's job to take care of you. A safety net. A safety net, not a hammock. That's what this was supposed to be. But it became a hammock for some people. It became an opportunity to not do a lot. And because of that, we have created really a shortage of workers. Opportunities there for people to get back to work. And if tough love's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. And here's something else. And I maybe Phil, we could write this down. We'll revisit it on Monday. If you take a job today, first of all, good for your pride, right? Come on, sitting around the house all day can get. Secondly, it doesn't mean you're marrying that job. You're taking the job. You're not marrying the job. So you can find a better job that maybe suits you. But the longer you go without work, when the tides turn, you heard it here, I'll continue to say it, people are going to start asking questions. Why didn't you work for X amount of months? And then all of a sudden, what was once an opportunity to go in and to get a better deal for yourself potentially, to move up quicker, to become part of a solution, and to grow, will be, oh, I just really need a job. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. It's called Quiet Diplomacy.
I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet, relentless diplomacy toward that end.
Quiet diplomacy. Quiet diplomacy. Egypt helped out in a ceasefire that is not really going to work. Let's be 100% honest. At this moment in time, this thing ain't working. I think we all kind of know that for whatever reason, at this moment in time, that while it sounds like they're out there trying to fight this thing off and we're going to get this thing done, the reality is the powers in certain places, in particular, Hamas, do not want a two-state solution. And because of that, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be, hey, we've got some situations here that we think we can get through, and we think this is going to be good, and Egypt's come in and they've helped us, and all of this stuff, and then you're going to look up, and lo and behold, somebody's going to fire off a rocket. And then it's going to go from there. Puts lots of people in situations, especially throughout the Middle East, where while they want to condemn, and they would in harsher terms, even when they do condemn Israel, they also realize there's a bigger picture here. They also realize there are situations here that they have to look at for their own good, as does Israel, because Israel is partnering up in some ways with countries nobody ever thought they'd partner up with, and diplomatically have opened up lines of communication because they realize there's a bigger issue than this.
This was the first major foreign policy test for this president. He wanted to avoid a messy, prolonged crisis, so we saw him initially rely heavily on those furious behind-the-scenes diplomatic talks, what Biden described as an hour-by-hour approach.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of that. But he's also getting pressure that normally we don't see. America's always been with Israel. They've always been with Israel. Now what you're finding is inside of the party, the Democratic Party, you've got the divest movement, right? This movement that you're seeing throughout the colleges where they've now starting to equate this is just like apartheid South Africa, and because it's like apartheid South Africa, that this is essentially these people are oppressed, and then the Jews in Israel are taking advantage of them, and they're destroying them, and they've all the might and all the power. Let's not forget that there's about 2 million Palestinians that live in Israel. Some of them serve within the armed forces in Israel. But that's the movement that's going on now. And so the pressure's coming from the world looking at him, Biden. How are you going to react? What are you going to do? Quiet diplomacy. On the other side, you've got people that are loud, who you just signed a $735 million arms deal with Israel, and people within the power, including the likes of Bernie Sanders, want to stop that. And then you've got the younger generation who look at Palestine in a much better light than they do the likes of Israel.
We saw those progressive members increasingly demanding that the president take a tougher stance on Israel, and he did ramp up the pressure over the last few days. Now, I'm told he never issued any kind of ultimatums, but instead relied on his decades-long relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But they don't care. Remember that, like Ilhan Omar and AOC, they don't care about what kind of relationship that you have with somebody. That means zero to them. What they care about is, how do I look doing this? These people are victims, and the Jews are the perpetrators of genocide and evil. So they're not the victims. I mean, you've heard it on late night shows where people are saying, you really shouldn't fight back. Let's just think about this for a second. They're firing indiscriminately into Israel, rockets. What if drug cartels just decided, hey, you know what we're going to do? Along the border there, El Paso, and we're just going to start firing rockets in there, just indiscriminately, landing on houses and just killing people and all of this stuff until we decide that we get this part of the land back. What do you think America would do? Just out of curiosity. What should any nation do? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. I have a feeling we'd probably find out that the cartel's equipment doesn't work as good as ours. I'm just throwing that out there. A few of them may catch fire. That's what I'm trying to say. Just a few. Just a few. Just a smidge. Masterclass. Incredible. I try to get a few classes in a day, as much as I possibly can, with all the stuff I'm doing. Ron Howard's got a new thing, like, how do your friends see your movies? Like, one of the things he was talking about, like, because that's what you do, right? Like, you make a movie, but you want people to see it and go for it. One of the other things I'm doing, though, that I love, and it's a lesson. I'm just started the first few lessons, and it's R.L. Stine, the great writer for kids, Goosebumps and all that stuff, about books, and it is amazing. It truly is. Each of these masterclass are taught by the masters in their fields, from Howard Schultz of Starbucks fame to Penn and Teller to Samuel L. Jackson and acting. You see these things, and you could start to realize, man, I've always had a dream. I have a novel in me. I've always wanted to do some stuff. You learn, whether you want to just take that and maybe take your hobby to the next level, or you just want to learn and grow. Masterclass offers something for everyone. It's about 41 cents a day. That is virtually nothing. A year membership. Each of these lessons is about 10 minutes long, and they range anywhere between like about 15 up to 28, 30 lessons. It's incredible. About 10, 15 minutes per lesson. Downloadable materials. Truly amazing. Go to masterclass.com/Benson. Save 15%. You will not be disappointed. Masterclass.com/Benson. Masterclass.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here. Just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
Let us take a peek and find out what's trending on the interwebs. Start with Twitter. Let's take a look and see what's happening here in the world of Twitter. Martin Bashir and the BBC are trending. Martin Bashir at the time was one of the big, if not the biggest, potentially biggest journalist in the world, one of them. In 1995, he did an interview with Princess Diana, the BBC and Panorama, and what ended up happening is he lied to get the interview. Faked bank statements, things of that nature, forged checks that made it look like that they had spies inside the palace, and it led to the ultimate, just the snowball effect of what took place. And it is not a good situation around. Princess Harry, Princess William also trending right now because of what they did to their mom. And it is this is something where you have one of the most trusted sources of news in the world. One of those names, when you say, like when you put that on your resume, there are certain names, right? The BBC, Disney, you know, NASA. You put certain things. That was one of them, and now this is not trusted anymore, kids. PGA Championship, number one trending thing yesterday on Google. Number one trending thing. Also, Martin Bashir, trying to figure out exactly what this guy did and how bad this could get. Cher turned 703 yesterday. She did not yet. I think she was 75. She probably still is. Roe v. Wade is also trending. We're going to touch on that based on a new poll that's out. It's a very interesting poll. And John Daly. So if you guys don't know who John Daly is, he is a golfer who's got a history, to say the least. He is big. He is loud. His clothes are usually awful. He's won the British Open and he won the PGA. He got in about, I think it was 30 years ago. He got into the PGA Championship as an alternate, like the fourth or fifth alternate. He ended up winning it. It's a major. Great article this week about him who, you know, he won $230,000 back then. He gave $30,000 to a family who lost their father that week. Was super quiet. He is also a guy that has gambled away $50, $100 million. He's had a crazy life, but he's in the PGA because it's lifetime interest because he's won the championship. But yesterday they show him warming up. What does he have? He has a cigarette in his mouth and a Diet Coke. He's good times. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
They're just putting it out there into the ether. And right now, the evidence that exists suggests we may not need a booster. So we need hard evidence before we start to speculate.
May not need a booster anytime soon. It's what some people are saying, even though that Moderna and a bunch of other people are saying we're going to need Moderna and Pfizer. Yeah, we're going to have a booster. May not need one. Still seems to be a ton of antibodies inside of your body after the first 2 shots, even months after.
We know that at 6 months after you get the vaccine, in the case of Pfizer, that your antibody levels are through the roof and that you're protected against all the variants that exist to this day. So to say that at 9 months or at 12 months, as the Pfizer and the Moderna CEOs put out today, that you might need a booster is devoid of evidence. So I would encourage them, publish the evidence. If that is indeed the case, if the evidence is suggesting that that is the case, provide it so that our government can actually plan ahead.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see if that's true. Don't know. I think these things are going to last longer than people realize. How long exactly? I don't know. And I still don't think we have any real understanding as if you had it, how long these antibodies are going to stick around. Producer Phil, you got your second shot yesterday. You are here. You are alive, but you did say your arm hurts.
My arm does hurt. It's very noticeable, but no, I haven't had any ill effects from it.
There you go. And one of our board ops here. So, Phil's out there in beautiful Virginia. Right? He's out there. And he told us yesterday, hey, I'll be here tomorrow. I don't know if I was going to be here, but I'll be here. I know I'm going to get the shot. I said, well, you're not going to get sick. We had like somebody come and fill in yesterday because our technical producer on my local show, he had to go to a graduation. And there's a guy that came in. He's a good guy. He's going to go get his second shot this weekend. And he's like, I just know I'm going to get sick. I'm like, you're not going to get sick. Stop saying that. You're putting it in your mind. But everybody tells me. Don't believe everybody. Everybody tells you that you're going to get sick. You're already planning to be ill. For some people, it's like, yeah, I can get a free day at work, right? They want me to get the shot. I don't really feel good. So funny. Some of the stuff I have heard, too, as I've talked to people of why they're not getting the shot is also very amazing. I heard it causes impotence. I heard it causes you to be sterile. And you're just like, Where did you hear that? Where exactly did you hear that? From a friend. From this. Okay. You're not convincing people. People like that, they're always looking for a reason to not do something. They're trying, they know they're not going to get it, or they're really hesitant, don't really want it. Some people are hesitant, but over time that'll melt away and maybe they'll get something. And this could be for anything. But for other people, they come into it and they don't want to seem like a denier or any of these things. So they start looking for excuses of why something didn't happen. It's like when you go play sports with somebody. It's like, hey, dude, let's go play some basketball. Let's go play some golf. Let's go do this. First thing they say on the first tee or when you're warming up, oh, dude, I was out late last night. I'm not feeling so good. They're already making excuses up of why this isn't going to go well. I swear. Makes you laugh. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. So, it's very interesting. It's a new poll out. Not a shocking poll, but most Americans don't want Roe v. Wade repealed. And that's kind of been steady for a while. But you know what? With all the new things going in, Mississippi, Texas, all of these new heartbeat bills and all of these things, of course, people who worry about Roe v. Wade being appealed are saying, look, people don't want this appealed. But if you dig deeper, they also talk about that most Americans say, yeah, but there comes a point in time when, sorry, this is, you've made a decision. You've gone past a certain area, and now it's not a nothing, and it's a something. I think most Americans say, look, if you find out you're pregnant and then in 2 or 3 weeks you decide, I'm not going to keep it, and you're not that far along, you're 6 weeks into it, 8 weeks, okay, that's fine. You start getting into that 15, 20, the second and third trimester, people are like, okay, well, that's a little bit much. That's a little bit much. And Democrats even agree. And that's a majority of Democrats are saying, I'm all for pro-choice, but choice to a certain extent, not at all cost. And it's one thing if you're 30 weeks along and the baby is deformed and it's put you at health risk. It's another thing if you're just like, oh, my God, I don't think I'm going to fit in my bikini when I go to Cabo. That's not very nice, Chad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. We can't agree on any of this. And, you know, the eyes are on the court because Monday decided SCOTUS, okay, we're going to hear some of these cases. And the uber conservatives are getting excited, thinking they're going to repeal everything. I also had to explain to people who are conservative the other day that even if they say, okay, we're throwing this thing out, Roe v. Wade, we decide to we're throwing it out. States will still have the rights to do what they want to do. And so it's not going to go anywhere. It's not. People don't understand that. It's because they just think that, well, they're going to rule on it and it's going to go away. No, it's not. California will always be California. Oregon will always be Oregon, except for the part that there's 5 counties in Oregon that are trying to become Idaho, which I think is hilarious. If you've not seen this, there are 5 counties in Idaho, more rural counties, who essentially, it's kind of like in a lot of states, right? You have the rural counties, more conservative, especially if you're in an area or a state where it is really liberal. So it's really liberal, and you look up, and all the things that they're doing in your state's capital goes against and hurts your county, and you just don't agree with your city. Then they look over at Idaho, who's their neighbor, right? Like that. Hey, we're touching. Like, I'm in Idaho, and then I'm over here, and I'm here, and I might even go to Idaho to shop because it's that close. Idaho's far more conservative, and these 5 counties are like, we don't want to be here anymore, so we're voting, and we want to leave. It's much harder than that, because I think they're going to get to the point where Idaho and Oregon may have to come to some sort of agreement. The deal is Idaho might say fine, but Oregon won't. And then what are you going to have? You're going to have a bunch of crazy Oregonians running around, building a militia, making Idaho 2 electric boogaloo. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of this, look, I'm as open as anybody. We're just talking about abortion. People ask me all the time, how do you feel on abortion? I said, look, it's not a choice I'd make, but I don't want to take away anybody's choices. But I do think there's a limit, right? At some point in time, once you kind of hear a heartbeat, you think, well, that's a living thing. Right? Can we, but that's a choice that people have to make for themselves. And with that, they have to live with it. And if they believe in God, Yahweh, a higher point, they may have to answer for it at some point in time. But that's their choice. But I do think there is a limit. I'm a live and let live kind of cat, more libertarian than anything else. But I'm also one of these people that's not insane. And I see some of this stuff that goes on, especially in particular with the right's craziness and the left's craziness. It's so... They mirror each other just with different outfits in a lot of ways. Speaking of outfits, this is Little Miss Hot Mess. Drag Queen Story Hour now on PBS, kids.
It's a long process, but it definitely pays off.
There's something rebellious about being a cis man and getting dolled up, putting on a wig, walking in the streets. And
I think kids don't always know what to make of us. Things like gender are like the last thing on their mind.
They look like mermaids and queens. Are we done yet?
They look like mermaids and queens? Well, if mermaid was a hot mess. What's wrong with that mermaid?
Hi, I'm Miss P. I am the drag queen for Drag Queen Story Hour this hour. Welcome!
When I first heard about it, I was just like, where can I sign up? And I was part of the first few girls who started Drag Queen Story Hour in New York City. So when I put on my wig on my dress, I'm ready to go save the world.
How many of you want to be a mermaid when you grow up?
Again, I'm as fine with people doing whatever they want to do. I myself, I don't think kids need to see this. I don't think drag queens need to read books to kids. Called me old-fashioned. I'm okay with that. I don't think they need to have questions about certain things. I think at this point in time, allowing kids to be kids is a good thing. If they see a person who's in drag and they want to ask a question, again, zero problems. Live and let live. You know, I lived in Palm Springs for several years. I moved out here about 4 years ago, almost 4 years. Jack and I would be downtown in Palm Springs, and if you guys are not familiar with Palm Springs, there may not be a gayer city in the world. There may not be a more LGBTQ city in the world or an area. Just it is what it is, and that's great. You know, my producers, my business partners, gay. Everybody needs to live the life that makes them happy and what they feel. Zero problems with that. And Jack and I had seen drag queens, and we'd laugh and stuff, and I'd tell them, you know, because they've got a couple real famous ones there, and you know, and what it was, and we move on, and it's to me, I just look and say there are some things that, you know what, allow kids to be kids. We don't need indoctrination. We don't need any of this stuff. And it's again, I don't think they're bad people. I don't know them. They may be the worst human beings on the inside. They may be great people. But I sit back and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think my 10-year-old needs to see this. Just like I don't think my 10-year-old needs classes in race. I think my 10-year-old needs to go to school first and foremost. I don't think he needs indoctrination. And unfortunately, that's what we're getting. And the fact that PBS and a bunch of think this is a phenomenal thing, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, if you put a porn star up there to read, people lose their crap. Right? They would. Well, it's different. No, they would. They would lose their crap. They would just, oh, no, I'm not. What's wrong? You don't want her to show up in a little skimpy outfit? Right? You don't want that? No, it's totally, no. Let's be real. There are some things, you know, it's like with the Demi Lovato, that for whatever reason, how dare you ask a question about they, thems, theirs, ours, AEIOUs, non-dairy, non-binary. Sometimes you let kids be kids, and the indoctrination's coming, and it's getting more and more uncomfortable. I see it with my son, and I deal with it on a daily basis, especially because the fact he goes to school in California, along with my little brothers. And I just think at some point in time, this has to stop. Let's get back to not the basics, but better than the basics. But this stuff, I'm like, as open as anybody. Live your life, be happy. At the same time, I don't think my 10-year-old needs you to read him a book. Hell, he didn't want me to read him a book. So there you go. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Omaha Steaks. Delicious. Oh, Chad. Yeah, they are. So they got the Let's Go Grill package, and I have grilled all of mine away. I'm supposed to be getting a new box today. So the Let's Go Grill package, and it's perfect time. Just, you know, I mean, you get Father's Day coming up. You're going to get the butcher's cut filet, the boneless pork chop, the boneless chicken breast, kielbasa, individual scalloped potatoes, caramel apple tartlets, all of these things. And they come in 4s. Plus, you're going to get a jar of seasoning. And here's something else. What doesn't come in 4 is what you're getting for free. A $44 value. It's free 12 5-ounce Omaha steaks. Burgers. Boom. Delicious. Mm-hmm. Plus $20 off your first order. They make a great gift, but they also make a great meal. So if you're thinking, hey, my husband, my dad would love this. Or maybe you're like, my kid's not going to get me anything, so I'll order it for myself. That's totally cool, too. The Let's Go Grill package, you get all of this, the fillets, the chops, the breast, the sausages from the kielbasa sausages, all this amazing stuff. Plus, you get 12 free Omaha Steak Burgers and $20 off your first order. So this is what you do. You go to omahasteaks.com, enter keyword Chad in the search bar to take advantage of this amazing package. omahasteaks.com, go to the search bar, Enter Chad. OmahaSteaks.com. The keyword is Chad. Take advantage today. OmahaSteaks.com. Keyword Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Rolling Stone came out with the 100 greatest sitcoms of all time. Sitcoms. Got a few of them right here. Break it down for you. 97 made it on the list. Night Court.
Bob and June Wheeler, as I live and breathe, how the heck are you?
Couldn't be better, sir. It's always a pleasure to be hauled up before you. And as usual, the accommodations were lovely.
And why you don't charge for that strip search, I'll never know.
Oh, Night Court was great. Made it on the list of best sitcoms. And Rolling Stone really did an in-depth thing into it. And, of course, like everything else, the talk of the reboot is coming. 193 episodes, ran from 1984 to 1992. I enjoyed it. I loved it. John Larroquette, Harry Anderson, Richard Mole, Margie Post, Charles Robinson, just to name a few, Marcia Warfield. But it was a great, great, great comedy. Number 49, we keep with the theme of law, Barney Miller.
Hey, Barn, I think he's stoned.
Stoned? What are you talking about?
Hey, what do you say we guys go down to the beach and shoot some clams?
Yes, I think there's something in these things. How many of these things have you had?
Mushy, mushy.
Mushy, mushy. Oh, Barney Miller was amazing. That landed on the top 50 at number 49. 8 seasons, 170 episodes. Hal Linden, Barbara Berry, Abe Vigoda, Max Gale, Ron Glass, Jack So, and the list goes on and on and on. It was brilliant show. In fact, we talked to a few years ago when Abe Vigoda passed away. We talked to Hal Linden about just what it was like to work on the show, and he was a nice guy, but it was great. That made it at number 49. Got more of these. Follow along. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Check us out across all social medias. I need to get more involved in that. It's tough, though, because the minute you post something, people just start attacking you. And I don't get it, but then I realize that a lot of people are miserable. How can you be miserable on a Friday? Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If we can reach the president's goal, which I believe we will, of 70% of the adult population receiving at least one dose by the 4th of July, and we continue to vaccinate people into the summer, and we get even higher than 70% vaccinated, I think it would be unlikely that we would see a surge in the fall.
Yay! Dr. Fauci. Somebody asked me yesterday, do you believe Dr. Fauci? And I said, what do you mean? And then I had 3 or 4 other tweets and texts come in. Do you buy what he's selling? I said, I don't think Dr. Fauci for an instant is a bad person. I think he's overly cautious. I think he's extremely cautious. And I think that he navigates politics with also being a doctor in a much more cautious way than I think that we as Americans, we just want to get back on with our lives. I think he's a bad guy. But what about the gain of function? And he funded the Wuhan lab. he's got some different ideas. And the whole gain of function thing, and if you guys don't know what it is, I mean, even yesterday, I think Ducey asked, Jen Psaki about, essentially that this was escape from a lab, and of course she shot that down. But that's getting more and more realistic as far as scientists are saying, based on the fact that the way that the Chinese have played this game of hiding it. It's the whole, if you've got nothing to hide, why are you hiding it scenario? If you've got nothing to hide, why the minute this thing essentially got out, did all of a sudden the people and the powers that be and everybody who had access to go on the website and look at a lot of stuff, all of that stuff had disappeared. But you heaven forbid. But then everybody ties somebody into something and it just becomes a nightmare. I don't distrust him when it comes to, is he a bad guy, an evil guy, was paid by George Soros. Where my issues come in is he's overly cautious. And I think that he gets to the point where I think ego plays a part of it, right? Because you don't get to these positions without having, ego. And one of my buddies is a scientist, works for a big pharma. By the way, we don't know how he did it because we thought as kids growing up, I was like, this guy's an idiot. But do you have any idea the egos that scientists have? He goes, we have egos the size of athletes' egos. We want to disprove everybody else's theory, prove our theory, because more than anything else, we want to be right. And I think there's a lot to that when it comes to Fauci. But yeah, he is very overly cautious. And he's not navigated this well. And the things that him and the powers to be with him and with the CDC and the things that they've done and the way that they've, gone back and forth on each other's issues has been a cause of headaches. But I don't think he's a bad guy. Doesn't make him perfect. But at the end of the day, yeah, the charade of wearing the mask over and over again, and he's like, I'm trying to do these things. That was too much theater for me. And I think for a lot of people it was. And Rand Paul again then turned it into more kabuki theater, and away we went. And then that's why people are like, I'm not going to get vaccinated because it doesn't work. Or he's like, I'm wearing the mask because I want people to see it's okay to wear the mask. And I'm like, what is he talking about? If you're not wearing a mask now, you don't care to wear a mask, and you're not going to wear a mask no matter who wears it. Oh, trust me, there's ways to get, we're problem solvers here. I think producer Phil will admit that we are problem solvers. We are.
Of course you are.
Yeah. You want to get guys vaccinated? Because women are getting vaccinated. Do you want to get guys vaccinated? Put it in strip clubs. Chad. Put it in places where guys will go and use the sex appeal to get it did. That is so, just do it for the better of the, no, stop it. You put it in places where beautiful ladies are giving you shots, guys will show up. Of course they will. Durr. Chad, that's not true. Yes, it is. Scientists have finally acknowledged what everybody in the world has always known. Okay? This is great. I don't know why they needed to do this, but they felt this is something that they needed to do. You guys ready for this? And this will be perfect to show why you need to put it in places where beautiful women will go and administer the shots. Dr. Stephen White, behavioral scientist at Queensland University in Australia, said males and females can differ quite significantly in the importance they place on characteristics. Both sexes tend to find the same thing sexy and potential mate, but it changes at different stages of life, right? So when you're younger, 18, much different than when you're 65. For guys in their 20s, they value what? Looks. Age. 4 times more likely to value those things than young women. Even in their 60s, for men, looks matter more than double than it does for women of the same age. What do women like? Charm, charisma, cash. What? Yeah. Cash. Men are stupid. Every one of you guys listening to me right now that is a cisgendered male, you've gone to a concert that you didn't want to go to. You may have gone to a church that you didn't want to go to. And we all know you've seen movie after movie that you wish you never saw. And how many of you out there, raise your hands, you've hiked and you hate hiking. But she's hot. Oh, that's not very nice. That's nice. For you ladies, personality is 3 times more important than it is to men. Right? That's real. Maturity and cash. That's it. I mean, that's a real thing. So if you want to get men who are unvaccinated vaccinated, then you better figure out a way to appeal to them in a way that they let their guards down. Just saying. I mean, all those girls are at the strip clubs, aren't they working their way through medical school anyways? She's like a phlebotomist. Yeah, I treat plants. Oh, Chad, that's stupid, but it may work. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Guys, this is called quiet. It's called quiet diplomacy. Quiet.
I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet and relentless diplomacy toward that end.
So what's going on there right now? I think anybody really knows. I mean, every time there's a ceasefire, which is happening between the Palestinians and the Israelis, you remember Palestine, so you get the leaders of Palestine, but they also have to deal with another group, and that group is Hamas. And that group doesn't always take the marching orders from the Palestinian leaders. They will do their own things in many cases. And because of that, I always go back to Sinn Féin. If you don't know what Sinn Féin is, that was the political side of the Irish Republican Army. And within that, you had people like Jerry Adams, who was the leader of Sinn Féin. And in fact, you want to here's something weird, Phil. I don't know if you guys ever knew this. Do you know that he was the leader of Sinn Féin, right? So he was like the head of the IRA, if you will. And you weren't allowed to hear his voice in England. Even when they showed him on television with his voice, you couldn't hear it. So weird. The English are an odd group, aren't they? So you get these situations where they may go out and want to have a ceasefire, but in doing so doesn't mean that Hamas is going to do it. So you're trying to you have to negotiate in 2 different ways, and that's why Egypt's gotten involved, where they can go, all right, let's try to broker some peace here, but then you've got to broker peace not only with the Palestinians and the Israelis, but Hamas. How do you do that? It's going to be a battle. It is. Hamas usually just runs out of stuff, and when they run out of stuff and they've had their stuff blown up, then it stops. And they don't want peace. And by the way, most of them don't care about the Palestinian people. They use it as an excuse, like a lot of these groups do. But it's more about them and their power. You can look at the Palestinian people and say, you know what? I don't like what's going on. I don't like what's happening. But I understand, and Israel has every right to defend themselves. In saying that, you've also got a group of people that on your quote-unquote behalf, even though you really don't have a say, are going to do things that are going to put you in harm's way. It's a complicated, hot mess, and it's not going to be solved by this president. It wasn't solved by the last president, although we did have peace for a bit. And it's not going to be solved by the next president, no matter who he or she is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, Car Shield, 24/7 roadside assistance. Rental car for free while your car's in the shop. That shop is the shop that you choose. They get them paid directly. You pay a deductible. You move on with your life. Don't be caught out. And those cover repairs can get expensive. And it always seems to come at a time when you think you're getting ahead. Well, you know what? Be smart. Get ahead of the entire thing. And that's why you need Car Shield. It is simple and easy. They got several different plans to choose from. And a plan that not only fits your budget, but what you're exactly looking for. Whether you're looking for something more robust to protect your engine, your transmission, or maybe something to protect the electronics in your car, Car Shield has a plan that's really good for you. Just go there, check it out. And I'm telling you guys, when it starts to add up of your car being gone for a few days, and all of a sudden you've got ride shares and bombing rides. Hey, can I borrow your car, or renting a car? And it's tough to rent a car right now. They've got you covered. CarShield.com, code Benson saves you 10%. Go there now. Sign up. CarShield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. CarShield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Retailers have hiked wages recently, from Amazon to Walmart to Starbucks. And while there are 8.1 million job openings right now in America, the highest number since the record keepers started tracking this, there are questions about why some of those jobs haven't been filled. One area economists have looked at is the expanded unemployment benefits.
Pay people not to work, they're not going to work. There's a lot of reasons. Are some people truly worried about coronavirus? Yes. But also it's a business decision for some people. They're looking around saying, I'm making more money on unemployment. Why do I want to mess up with that? Okay, that's understandable. But you need to get back to work, and they need to pull the plug on that. What about pride? You can ask yourself that. The second thing, some people may make less coming in, but because when they were working, more was going out, they've decided this is okay. Childcare, kids still aren't in school in a lot of places. That school is ending. So you're already, and is the place they go for the summer, is that going to be open? What's that look like? And there's a lot that goes into it, but it's time for us to get back to work. It's pretty simple. Time to get back to work. Republican states are saying, we don't want your federal dollars for unemployment. And so people are going to make a change. And I think over the next 6, 7, 8 weeks, as these unemployment benefits have ended for some, and they're only getting their states, you'll find that those jobs in certain places are getting filled. And I remind everybody again, you getting a job today at a place doesn't mean you're marrying that job, but your opportunity to get out there ahead of everybody else while it's an employee market is big. So you make the choice. But to sit around and enjoy doing nothing, it's just what happened to the pride, people? What happened to the pride? People don't seem to have the pride. People don't seem to be enjoying working anymore. I don't know why, but they don't. Frustrated, feel like they're being taken advantage of. And that's why, and here's the other thing. If you feel like you hated your job before this, right? So I didn't like my job before this, and it's been stop-start, but I've been on unemployment, and I've done this, and yet here we are, for some people it's a year and a half into it. For others, it's about 14 months, 13 months, whatever it is. You've had that time to maybe rethink, and you didn't do anything. That's a you problem. I also read yesterday that a good majority of people to say if they're going to make me come back to the office, I'm not going to go back to work. What are you going to do? Well, I'm just not going to go back to work. Well, I don't think that's the offer that they're going to give you. What I am seeing is, and this has really been tested over the last several weeks, is what if we paid you less but didn't make you come in? And we allowed you to do your job anywhere in the country. Oh, that's interesting. So instead of paying you $70,000 a year, we're going to pay you $60,000. But you don't have to come in, so you're saving there. And if you're in certain places, and Silicon Valley's been doing this for a long time, where they said, we don't care where you work, just get the job done. So you see a lot of people from Silicon Valley leave, but still, quote unquote, work. I think people would do that. But just saying, no, I'm not coming in, it's not going to work, kids. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's called The Fifth Wave. It's about education. We're going to talk to Dr. Michael Crow. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I've had lunch with this guy. He's an author. We're going to talk about his book. He also runs a little school called Arizona State University, and he is I think he's on a path to change education, especially higher education, in ways that we're going to feel for a very long time. His new book's called The Fifth Wave: The Evolution of American Higher Education. Michael Crow joins us. And all right, the book. I've gotten through a good majority of it. And one of the things, the first thing I've noticed when I was looking at is Malcolm Gladwell. I love me some Malcolm Gladwell. Talked about this. And man, this book is so interesting. And the way that we need to rethink education, higher education in particular. Let's talk about how we even got to the point where we're looking at a fifth wave, because there were other waves.
Yeah, there was the original colonial colleges as the country was getting formed, Harvard and Columbia, Princeton, places like that. Then some state colleges emerged, largely in the South, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Then we got the true American idea, this land-grant colleges, these colleges focused on the people, like Illinois and Michigan State, Purdue, places like that. Then research universities popped up in the U.S. in the fourth wave, and these were schools that started at private, philanthropically backed places like Johns Hopkins and Chicago and Stanford, but that really became the American tool that helped us win World War II, and then it became an American thing to drive the economy. And then the fifth wave, which ASU is really the prototype for, is, well, how do you take something that all four of the previous waves have done and then scale that and engage the whole population? Meaning, how do you make college something that's not for the privileged few or the brainiacs sitting in the chemistry lab? How do you make college more accessible, scalable, and connectable across a person's entire life? And that's really what we're doing.
So the fifth wave, I mean, when you look at colleges right now, higher education, you just talked a bit about the socioeconomic side of things where, is it for the privileged few? It shouldn't be. But when you look at education right now, what do you see as the biggest issue facing higher education?
The biggest issue is that the colleges have become either focused only on access and therefore haven't been successful, or they're focused only on excellence and then exclude everyone from the institutions. And we can't have that as the way that we end up. And the second thing that's happened is that we've compartmentalized learning down before you're 25 years old, not realizing that the economy is going to change so fast in a person's normal lifespan that you're going to need to be able to be enhanced in your learning throughout your entire life. So we've got to make college or advanced learning or higher learning or what we call universal learning, we've got to make it more accessible across a person's entire life.
Which I think is great. Talking to Michael Crow, he's the president of ASU. The book he's got out now is called The Fifth Wave: Evolution of American Higher Education. So what would you like to be seen change. You guys are leading the way, and it's great. We've had lunch together, and you've shown me some of the things that you guys are doing there. And what you've done at ASU, how you've taken a college, let's be real, was kind of the butt of the jokes. You can go to Family Guy. They make fun of ASU for a very long time. Totally. They don't do that as much anymore. So what do you see as what you would like to do to bring these things here to colleges across the country?
Well, so what we're doing is we're really laying the foundation where you can come to a university, engage with a faculty that's a world-class faculty, and you can come from any family background, and finances will be affordable and so forth and so on. How do you build that? How do you make that work? And we have built that. And then how do you take that same institution for the 35 million Americans who went to college and didn't finish, and half of them want to finish? And how do you say, no problem, here's the way for you to finish? We just had a woman graduate from our online biology program, just admitted to the Mayo Clinic Medical School. It's an unbelievable story. She learned it in our Star Trek level biology programs. And then how do you take all the content of the university and say to anyone, a family homeschooling, a person changing careers at age 40, well, we've got stuff for you also. We want to be helpful to you across your entire life. And so how do you make the public university actually a very valuable thing to all of the public across the entirety of their life? That's really what we're trying to figure out how to do.
You know, you talk about cost, and I think a lot of people, you hear about it. Let's forgive the debt. Let's not have debt. Everybody, you get political where it's like we should just give school to everybody, which it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to talk about. Hey, everybody's going to pay for your school. We'd love to all have those kind of ideas that sound utopian and vision, but you do want to make it affordable. And the frustration level for a lot of people, it is, hey, would you like to have a loan for the rest of your life? How do we go and make it affordable so all socioeconomic people have a true opportunity, and the pressure that's on, especially middle class, where they don't really qualify for anything, and at the same time, they make enough, but it's not really enough.
Yeah, well, Chad, those are good points. I mean, one thing that we've done is, we've kept what we call our net tuition at ASU under $4,000 a year to attend, and that means after grants, no loans. Huge numbers of our students graduate that didn't used to graduate. A key thing here is people graduating. But you're right when you say this notion of free college. I think you put the word free in front of something, and you make it something then that you don't work so hard for. You make it something for which you don't take responsibility for. And so what we've got in the college loan issue is we have people who have taken out lots and lots of college loans and then use them to live off of while they're in college, as opposed to focusing on their college success. So I'm for holding everybody accountable, the colleges, the people that take the loans, for graduation, because if you graduate, you'll be fine. If you don't graduate, it'll be harder. And so what we need is a complete rework of everything. We don't need to move in the direction of making things free for the sake of making them free. What we need is people graduating from community colleges, graduating from the universities, moving on and being responsible. That's what we need, and we need to make all of that as affordable as possible.
The fifth wave in the book, as we talk about, the book's amazing, by the way. It's called The Fifth Wave, The Evolution of American Higher Education, with Michael Crow talking to him right now, the author and also the president of ASU. It was very interesting. The complex, adaptive knowledge enterprises, because your college in particular and what you've done previously to ASU and how you've looked at the school as, hey, we have all of this great stuff. How do we adapt it? How do we do it? How do we bring it forward? It's amazing what you've been able to do and the models that you're bringing about so you can make it affordable so people can come. Man, I'm telling you, I tell everybody, you not only get this book, but read your other stuff and listen to you talk, because you're changing things in ways that need to be changed.
Well, I mean, the thing that's important is that, the university model, the college model has been too fixed, too rigid. It hasn't been adaptive. It hasn't adapted to society. It's not fast enough. It's not quick enough. It doesn't give you what you need when you need it. This is when the class is. So we've used technology. We're the most technologically advanced school around. We've got hundreds of private sector partners helping us to advance learning outcomes technologically. We've also figured out ways to overcome some of the bugaboos. The reasons that lots of people dropped out was math. I mean, they just, they didn't get college math. Well, we've tackled that and found ways to make that not that big of a deal. And so you do all of that by basically taking the university and making it something other than a fixed, rigid thing. You embrace complexity, you make it adaptive, you make it high speed, you make it so that it can engage with any learner, anywhere, anytime, from any background. You make all of that rather than just stamping out some of the same kinds of things. And so that's what we've been able to do, and that's really helped us to be able to build a new kind of university that can have more impact.
Hey, speaking of math, do you still have that robot that helps kids with math, that robot tutor?
We have robot tutors. We have something you can come over and take a look at. I can get you fully immersed into an alien zoo as an avatar, orbiting a planet 11 light years away. And I guarantee you, because we just did the learning outcome tests, that when you're done with a 3-module introductory course, you will understand college level biology. And you'll understand it in a completely different way because you're the scientist as an avatar in this virtual reality environment, and you learn in a completely different way. So you're not learning out of a textbook how to memorize biological terms. You are a scientist, learning biology by being a scientist. And we can bring you over now, take a look at that. It is unbelievable how that's changing things.
We're going to do that. I'm bringing Gatos too. My
absolutely.
We'll see how we can do with that. The Fifth Wave: The Evolution of American Higher Education. People read this book, and because higher education. I mean, the one thing we debate all the time about kids in Finland learn this way, and kids in Holland learn this way, and the Australians do this. But when it comes to higher education, we are still the dominant force in the world that everybody looks to. What do you want people to take away from this book?
That American higher education is evolving. We do have to dominate the world. We do have to produce the most competitive workers, the most creative outcomes, the most innovative ideas. All of that is possible as we continue this American evolution, that we build universities that help America to be successful. And this next wave will now allow us to grow and scale and diversify and do all the things that we need to do to make sure that our entire society is a part of building the best economy, making our democracy work, enhancing lives across our entire community. All of this is possible as we continue to evolve our educational enterprises, which is what we do in the U.S., and this fifth wave is the next wave.
Absolutely. Get the book. Go out and get it today if you're ever thinking about education. I'm telling you guys, what they're doing at ASU because of you, Michael, is amazing. And especially as you, like you say, you got to learn to adapt. And you're going to be educating your entire life nowadays. The book's called The Fifth Wave: The Evolution of American Higher Education. Michael Crow, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. You know what that is? That's your Twitter, your Instagram, Chad Benson Show TV's YouTube. I got to start doing more. Sometimes I get very frustrated about the whole thing because just people fight over the dumbest things. Check us out on Facebook as well. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Released on May 21st, 1971, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On is a song cycle told through the eyes of a soldier returning home from Vietnam, a sentiment expressed most powerfully in the album's title track. Mercy, Mercy Me, the ecology, while Inner City Blues Make Me Wanna Holler lamented the state of inner city America. 50 years later, What's Going On is considered one of the greatest albums of all time in any music genre.
Yeah, to say that it isn't, well, according to Rolling Stone, would be a lie. In fact, 2020, last year, it ranked number one on Rolling Stone's list of 500 greatest albums of all time. End of the 60s, Marvin Gaye said he had fallen into some serious depression following the brain tumor diagnosis of his Motown singing partner, Tammy Terrell. Failure of his marriage to Anna Gordy. He was struggling. And when he put this thing together, it was really an amazing thing. And if you think about all of the hits that Mercy, Mercy Me, Inner City Blues, Save the Children, of course, and What's Going On, it was epic. It was absolutely, he said it was a concept album. He says a lot of people were going into, he goes, most of the songs segueing into the next and haven't been categorized as song cycle. He wanted something that was just going to be a standout thing. And he wanted to tell it from the point of view, as he said, from a Vietnam vet coming home to his country to witness suffering, injustice, hatred. He also wanted to explore drug abuse, which is, man, you think about it, poverty. And it was great, man. Marvin Gaye, it's another one of those things, was like gone way too soon. I don't think people realize what took place with Marvin Gaye's death. If you guys don't know how he died, he was shot. It was crazy. He became involved in an altercation with Marvin Gaye Sr., who shot Gaye twice. Once in the chest, piercing his heart, then in the shoulder. The first shot proved to be fatal. And it was such a weird situation. Gaye Sr. was initially charged with murder, but the charge was reduced to voluntary manslaughter following the fact that they diagnosed him with a brain tumor. He got a 6-year suspended sentence, and he died in a nursing home in 1998. Apparently, he didn't have any understanding what was going on. He didn't get what was happening. It was an awful thing. But, man, Marvin Gaye, that's 50 years. I'm 50. I want to point that out. It's weird to say sometimes because I feel like I'm 12 sometimes, and other times I feel like I'm, my body tells me, you're 50. You're 50. Those things you're doing? Yeah. Slow your roll, bro. Slow your roll. Movies this weekend out. One movie I'm excited. It's on Netflix. And if you're like me, so you guys know this, right? You've listened to the show for a while. You know something about me. And that, are you guys ready? I think we all know that I don't watch art movies. I don't do it. I watch action. I watch comedy. I watch action and comedy. And I love horror movies. All of those are rolled into one. Today on Netflix, a big movie. Army of the Dead. Zack Snyder, the Superman and all those things, talks about this. And Netflix brought this thing together.
It was fun. You know, I thought that kind of is what I needed from it was the scale. And not just the scale, like you could always just say it's a huge world, but, you know, to kind of slowly move through a giant world is a different experience. And so, it was real fun. It was fun to get to destroy Las Vegas. And then it was also fun to get to kind of walk through the ruins.
Yeah, so the movie itself is, it's everything I dream of. It's got zombies, Dave Bautista, a bunch of action stars, and essentially some of the world's normal. But one thing that's happened is there's been a virus, and some parts of the world, like Las Vegas, are completely destroyed, and there's zombies there. But inside one of the hotels, it's hundreds of $1 million in gold and cash. And Dave Bautista is going to go in there with his crew, and they're going to take a bunch of stuff, and they're going to fight zombies, and they're going to fight tigers that are also zombies. And I'm pumped about that. So if you're looking for that kind of movie, which we should all be looking for a movie like that, this is what it is. And Netflix is starting to roll them out fast, and this was their goal, to do this as fast as they can, from here until the end of the year. They're spending a ton of money trying to make sure that they're bringing a film-like quality in blockbusters every week. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Also, let's go back in the Wayback Machine.
Luke, you have only begun to discover your power. Join me.
I'll never join you!
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough.
I am your father.
Wait, what?
No!
Wouldn't it be funny if you just said, well, hold on a second. Now, this changes things. I didn't know. No, Obi-Wan did not tell me what happened. You left out the headline, Obi-Wan. That's your lead. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Solid fun time as always. Good weekend. ahead. I hope you guys have a safe, fun weekend. A lot of chaos, a lot of craziness at times. But you know what? I think we do a good job. We get through the week. We have fun. A little bit of smiles here, a lot of bit of smiles there. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to do it again on Monday. You have an amazingly safe and blessed weekend. As always, my friend, night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.